Well, hello and good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. It is great to see you all. I'm going to start by throwing the banner up so that you all know how to enter to win. So please type hashtag win, all caps WIN, into the chat for your chance for a extra special giveaway today. Welcome to our Sundae Brunch Halloween edition. We have a little special trick or treat giveaway. We'll be talking about Halloween lore. We'll be talking about spooky jewels, but more specifically cursed jewels and talismans and amulets that can help counter them as well. So I hope that you are all doing fantastic. Hello, Deborah. Hi, Vivian. Hi, Jewelry Jam. It is wonderful to see you all. Today is a fun day for me. I love Halloween. I've always loved it since I was a kid. Dressing up was fun, and I always went for kind of gory, disguise-like costumes. A lot of fun. Hi, Delia. Hi, Leona. We'll give everyone some time to arrive, and then we will jump right in. But do enter, because our giveaway winner will have a chance to choose between the Sundae Brunch Sundae Baubles mug exclusive and trick-or-treating. And of course, you will end up with a good prize if you go trick-or-treating with me, but it is a special Halloween edition. So do get in there and enter in the draw. Even if you've won a mug before, there are other prizes to be won today as well. Hope you're all doing fantastic. I can't believe that it's the end of October. This October, I was in LA, I was in Edmonton, we helped my mother-in-law move to a new home, kicked off a major project. It's been a lot. It's been pretty full on. And as you all know, there's a lot going on in the world too. So like many of you, I've kind of tried to take a little bit of a mental health break, especially this weekend, and I've been very, very offline, and it has helped me restore so much. I owe a few of you some emails regarding some of your pieces, and I will be getting back to you this afternoon. So if there's anything that you need, never hesitate. Email me at sundaebaubles@gmail.com. Welcome, Catherine. Hi, Monica. It is wonderful to see you all. Deborah, it looks like you are not hearing or seeing me, so you may have to refresh, and I'm going to type that, and hopefully that comes up. Hey, Scavenger, I'm going to write refresh if you can't see the photo or can't see video. All right, and we are going to jump right in. Hello, Jennifer. I hope everybody's doing great. So as I mentioned, today we are going to focus on Halloween. And Halloween really is a harvest festival. It is a wonderful time of year where everyone's hard work in the farming industry all comes to fruition, and there is a lot of goodies from squash and apples, hay that needs to be harvested. And really, the origins of Halloween come from a tradition known as Samhain. And this was a pagan religious celebration, really a Celtic festival, and it was celebrated for the harvest. Now, in the 8th century, Pope Gregory declared that November 1st was going to be All Saints' Day. And the All Saints' Day meant that the day before became All Hallows' Eve. So that's how the name of Halloween came to be. But you're probably wondering, where did all of these traditions for Halloween come from? And a lot of them come from Ireland. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. But first, does anybody know where the jack-o'-lantern came from? Because this is one of my favorite little tidbits. They carved pumpkin faces. Now we see them where kids do, sometimes they use stencils and they do cats or elaborate haunted houses and all sorts of things. But the interesting truth is that they didn't actually start off as being pumpkins at all. Let me know in the chat if you're familiar with this story. But they actually began as turnips. Now, in Ireland, turnips were plentiful. Pumpkins really were something that were not found until people began to move to the New World, and they were originally not used for a lot of different things, but turnips were indeed plentiful. And there is a tradition that traces back to Ireland about Stingy Jack. Now, Stingy Jack was a worker who was out in the fields, and apparently he had many run-ins with the devil and managed to capture him. And when he caught the devil would beg to be freed, and he promised the devil that he would free him, and did, in exchange for a promise from the devil that he would not go to hell. And apparently this happened several times through Stingy Jack's existence. But what happened was that when Stingy Jack died, heaven refused him entry. So what the devil did was provide him with a carved, hollowed out turnip with a coal ember inside, and that coal ember would burn and was meant to light his way as he roamed the countryside for all of eternity. So that is where the true tradition of carving pumpkins came from. Now, Ireland was a place where many, many different traditions came from. And this is a wonderful painting called Snap Apple Night by the Irish painter Daniel Maclise, and this is from 1833. And I'm going to zoom you in just a little bit because in this photo, we are going to take apart some of the actual activities that are happening. Now, when he displayed this wonderful painting, he had a little saying with it. There Peggy was dancing with Dan while Maureen was lead melting. To prove how their fortunes ran with the cards could Nancy dealt in. There was Kate and her sweetheart Will, in nuts their true love burning, and poor Nora, though smiling still, she dismissed the snap-apple turning on the festival of Hallow Eve. And he made this painting and came up with this little rhyme after spending the 1832 All Hallows Night or Snap Apple Night at a big party in Blarney. And so we're going to tear this apart. We'll start with roasted nuts. Now, in the painting, I should say, there are some folks that are roasting nuts. And there is a tradition where if you take 2 hazelnuts and place them together to roast, one is meant for you and one is meant for your sweetheart. If it jumps because of the fire scorching it, that is bad luck for you. But if it roasts and splits and becomes ready, and you could use a hazelnut or a chestnut, then you're off to a good start. What you need to do is eat one of those nuts and get your sweetheart to eat the other. Now, sometimes they would put that roast nut into another dessert or something to try to hide it, to trick the sweetheart into eating it. But there was a long tradition with roasting nuts, both hazelnuts and chestnuts, that were meant to help you find love. Now, Halloween lore actually has an awful lot to do with love, and oatcakes were another one of those things that were used. So oatcakes were actually made with oat, almost like a meal, but they were quite dry. And what would be done is either they would embed charms, and this is a set from the 50s, and the charm would actually dictate what your year was going to be like. And so if you received a ring, it meant that you were likely to find love. If you received something like a coin, it was meant that you were going to be very fortunate for the year. And in the early days, really, they only used some metal coins and then some rings, and everyone would hope that they would get a piece. And that was a tradition that later turned into a wedding cake or a wedding shower tradition as well in North America, where sometimes little charms are put into cakes and sometimes for birthdays too, and they're meant to give you your fortune for the year. Hello, Peg. Hello, Robin. Hello, Purple Rain. It is wonderful to see you all. I hope you are doing great. Please enter #win to enter the giveaway. Now, with oatcakes in the early days, so the early 19th century, there was another tradition as well. If you were to take 3 bites of an oatcake before bed and did not drink any water at all, it was said that you would dream of your beloved. So as you can see, many of the traditions that have to do with Halloween also have to do with love. And there's a reason for that. That is because after the very busy spring season of sowing the fields, the busy summer season of tending to the fields, the fall season was moving into the winter season and a time of rest. So people had a little bit more free time on their hands so that they could maybe engage in courting rituals and get married. Now, Luck and love had a lot to do with some of the other popular games that were played. And apples, being part of the harvest, were no stranger to these. So you've probably heard of bobbing for apples, and there are a lot of traditions that center around the fall fruit. Now, the apples inside the bobbing for apple game were meant to represent your crush. Each girl was to pick out an apple, identify who she had in her mind's eye, and say, "This is my crush. If I get this apple, then I may have a future with them." If the girl was able to get that apple and bite in on the first try, it meant the stars were aligned and they were destined to be together. If it took 2 tries, then it meant there was going to be a long courtship, but there was hope for their relationship. And if it took 3 or more tries, it meant that she was barking up the wrong tree and this was not the right person for her. There were a lot of other variations with the bobbing for apple game as well. And it was said that if she put her apple that she managed to get in 1 or 2 bites under her pillow, she would have even better luck at getting the dream partner. There were a couple of other games too. So bobbing for apples was also done from a stick and not in a barrel, although this really was what was known as snap apple. And sometimes there was even a candle that was put on one end of the pole and be dripping wax, and you would try to capture that apple. And there were cheeky games too, where sometimes you would potentially have a chance to flirt and to play with a partner, and one person would try to hold the apple so that both could get a bite at the same time. And then, of course, there is the apple peel love fortune game. What a woman would have to do, and really it was almost always the woman that would have to do the work in these cases, was peel an apple completely from top to bottom without having a break in the peel. And then if she threw it over her shoulder, the shape that it landed in would tell the first initial of the name of her lover. So this was another tradition that many would engage in, which is kind of fascinating. And that tradition was sometimes tied to the time of day too. And it was said that if you did it at midnight on Halloween, so right as you moved into that All Saints Day, it was meant to be of the best luck for you. Now, there were other things that you were recommended to do late at night, some of them a little bit unsafe. Often it meant looking into a mirror and walking down the stairs backwards. This was one popular way of getting a look at your future beloved. So it was said that what you needed to do was take a hand mirror in one hand and a lit candle in the other and walk down the stairs. And if you did this at midnight, you would see your beloved. Here is another beautiful postcard from the turn of the 20th century, so right around 1900, and it has that hand mirror and the candle in it as well. And so there's a little joke in this one that says, "Of her Prince Charming she had long dreamed, and now she wished to see him, so it seemed. Into the mirror she looked with delight, but the prince she beheld gave her a fright." So with this wonderful game, it became an opportunity for a lot of families and young boys to play tricks on their sisters too. So sometimes they would wait and try to scare them as they participated in this ritual, or sometimes they would even wear masks or disguises and try to pop up in the mirror to frighten their dear sisters. Gotta love family. Now, there were a couple of other really interesting traditions too that were done. Women would sometimes soak their sheets and hang them by the fire to see what the shape would dry in, because that could tell them the future fortune of their love. And others say that when they did their mirror backwards walking trick, they also had to be brushing their hair, or they had to look into a mirror and eat an apple. So again, always back to these harvest fruits. They really play an important role in all of the Halloween tales and games. Now, trick-or-treating was a wonderful invention that actually goes back farther than you may realize. Some say that it originates with Samhain, where food was left out to appease spirits. Others say that it could be related to the Scottish souling tradition, where children and poor adults would go from door to door and they would collect money and food in exchange for prayers. There was a non religious version of this as well that was called guising, where they would go around and they would perform either a poem or a joke or song or tricks and also be given little treats. And then the last one that people believe is the origin of trick-or-treating in North America was something called bell snickling, where kids would put on costumes on Christmas and would actually go to their neighbor's house. And if the neighbor couldn't guess who it was, then they would be given treats or food. Candy was not something that was popularly given until about the 20th century and really well into the 1900s. Usually it was toys, small toys, paper gifts, coins, and food. But in the 1900s, this is where some sugar treats and sugar companies started to take off and things became a little bit more popular. And this brings us to the tradition of candy apples. So candy apples were actually created as a Christmas treat, and they weren't meant to encase an apple at all. It was William Kolb who created a cinnamon red hard candy, and he wanted to display this in his candy shop window. So what he did was he put apples on sticks and dipped them into his candy and then displayed them in his window. And his customers thought they looked really intriguing and delicious and ended up buying them. So instead of creating a new Christmas time treat that he was going to be advertising for a couple of months, he created a fall sensation, and candy apples became synonymous with a lot of the trick-or-treating that was done. So it's fantastic and fascinating to see how the times have changed. Small candies, as the candy makers realized that candy could be given away, they started to produce things in bulk and families would buy them. And of course, children love sweet treats. And really, it wasn't until the 1970s where things started to be packaged individually. And that was because of fears that candy would potentially be contaminated, or mixed with things like razor blades, which I'm sure all of you are very familiar with. Hello, Carol. Hello, Gina. Hello, Sue. It is lovely to see you all. We are covering some fantastic Halloween lore. Please make sure that you have a chance to enter WIN, #WIN, all caps, for a chance to win a mug or play trick or treat. We have a fun game today. Hi, Chris. Hi, Jane. I hope everybody is doing wonderful. So that covers a lot of the amazing detail for Halloween. And I wanted to also cover cursed jewels today. When people think about jewelry around this time of year, usually morning jewelry and jewelry with hair is something that is focused on. And I think that it is a beautiful and wonderful topic, but we've covered it before on this channel, so instead, I thought we would do a deep dive on some jewels that you may or may not be familiar with. So let's go into talking about cursed jewels. We're going to start with the Lydian hoard and the brooch you see here, which is pretty fantastical. In the 1960s, a chamber was discovered in Turkey, and there were 363 artifacts in that chamber, and they dated back to the 6th century BC. It was the tomb of a princess, and there were 7 men who ransacked it. And some of those pieces ended up being sold to the Metropolitan Museum in New York. Now, there was a decree that pieces should not be removed and sold to other museums in basically the late 1960s, around 1970. So this just squeaked in under the clock, and the Met initially did not want to give it back. So Turkey asked to have it returned so that they could house it in the museum, and the Met Museum said no, 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 until 1993. There were quite a lot of expensive lawsuits that happened as well. In 1993, they agreed to return it, and so it was rehomed. But what's fascinating is those 7 men that ransacked the tomb, every single one of them ended up dying by a violent death. And this isn't the end of the tale of this brooch, because it was displayed very proudly. But in 2006, someone realized that there was a problem. It turned out that a fake was actually put on display. The museum curator had a bit of a gambling debt, and so he and some of his colleagues had been stealing pieces from the museum and were selling them off so that they could repay their debts. And this was discovered, and they managed to obtain the original and rehome it, but it wasn't without much ado. And as you are going to hear, there are a lot of stories related to these unfortunate jewels that cross over with gambling debt and some people running into some issues. So this is the first story that we have about cursed jewels, and I think a lot of people would say the lesson here is don't steal from tombs. Here's another one that came from a tomb, and it is a jewel known as the Delhi Purple Sapphire. Now, the funny thing is that this gemstone, which is a capstone that's been faceted, is not a sapphire at all. It is, in fact, an amethyst. And this is one that was discovered. And I'm going to remove the banner so that you can actually see the details in the Indra Temple in Kanpur in India. And so this was found by Colonel W. Ferris, and he in turn gave it to his son, and this ended up with Edward Heron Allen. Now, at first, people didn't really think there's too much that was going on behind it, and they really believed it was a sapphire. However, after this piece was passed along, it started to create a series of unfortunate events. So this is the words of Heron Allen, I should say, and what he said is, I had it bound round with a double-headed snake that had been a finger ring of Hayden the astrologer, looped up with zodiacal plaques, neutralized between Hayden's magic tau and 2 amethyst scarabaei from the Queen Tassu period. And we're going to take a closer look at that in just a second. But the series of misfortunes, first it was Colonel Ferris who gave it to his son who gave it to Edward Heron Allen and wife, and for them, they started to see visions of a yogi in their living room, sitting on the floor. And what was happening is that this yogi was digging around and apparently looking for his purple amethyst, and he was unsuccessful, and this haunted him. And apparently it wasn't just the 2 of them that saw this haunting image, but there were many others that stayed with them that saw the same thing. So what he decided to do was to gift it to a series of friends, and I think that he may have lost a lot of friends by doing this. He gave it to the first person who lost fortune and returned it, and then he gave it to a few others. The second person was a singer, and she lost her voice and was never able to sing again. And she was a professional singer, so this was career ending. There were some others that came into debt, and even some that committed suicide. At one point, he even threw it into a body of water, thinking, I need to be rid of this piece of jewelry. But that lake happened to be dredged, and the piece was returned to him, so he still wasn't rid of it. Now, what he ended up doing to protect himself and his family was putting it into 7 boxes, each box inside each other, and he left a note stating that this shouldn't be removed from the boxes until 33 years after his death. What actually happened, though, was that his daughter opened the boxes 1 year after his death and ended up gifting it to the museum. So it's kind of an interesting story, and again, a lot of gifting of things that people don't want. Don't give away cursed jewels. I would say that is not a kind thing to do to anyone. All right. We are now going to talk about another famous jewel, and this one you've probably heard about, and it is the Black Prince's ruby. And much like that sapphire, which is actually an amethyst, this ruby is actually not a ruby at all. It is a red spinel. Now, this is known as the Black Prince's ruby. Peter the Cruel is the person who obtained it first, and he obtained it after murdering a prince, Abu Said, that he was meeting, who had offered to surrender land. But when he met with him, he actually ended up killing him and took this jewel. His illegitimate brother killed him when he returned, and this is Henry II, in alliance with the Black Prince. And that's really where the name came from. And this was just the beginning of the misfortune for this jewel. The next owners, Henry V and Richard III, were both killed in battle. And it wasn't until the Restoration, because it disappeared for a few years after that, where it was found and put back into the crown jewels. And that it is where it continues to live today. But it is said that those who wear it can be met with some misfortune. So that is the fascinating story of the Black Prince's ruby. Now, Marilyn Monroe is a character that we are all familiar with, and this next one is about a diamond, and it might not be a story that you're as familiar with. It's one that was new to me when I was doing my research. So there is a large diamond known as the Moon of Baroda, and it was popularized by Marilyn in 1953 after it was suggested that she wear it. And she wore it in the movie Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and it became very, very famous. But what she didn't know was that this old diamond was said to ruin the lives of anyone who wore it and crossed the sea. And she did happen to cross the sea. And in 1953, after she wore it, ironically, that happens to be when her career and her personal life also sort of came into a little bit of a downward spiral. So very sad story. And the jeweler that gave it to her and wanted to popularize it, shame on him. Do not gift cursed jewels to anyone, whether you like them or not. It is no way to have a curse removed. Hello, everyone. It is lovely to see you all. Now, our next jewel is one that you've probably heard of, and it is the Hope Diamond. This one was discovered in 1673, and it was 115 carats initially when it was found before it was faceted. This thing was beautiful and belonged to many, many royals, and yet the many royals that happened to own it had some terrible things happen to them. So Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette are one of the first fable owners of this piece, and we know what happened to them. Then we've got King George IV, who was the next to have it. He had an untimely death as well, and the jewel then went to pay for some debts. Henry Diamond Hope acquired it in the 1830s, and when he died, again, unexpectedly, it went to his son, and his son also came into financial ruin. So to pay his debts, his son actually killed him. This is why the Henry Diamond Hope owner perished, was because his son killed him. And that was in 1839. So this one has continued on. From there, it was purchased by a jeweler, and this is William Fells, and he ended up committing suicide. And after that, in 1901, it finally ended up with another jeweler, Joseph Frankels, who managed to sell it a few times to different men, but each time they ran into financial ruin. And so finally, in 1910, it landed with Cartier, and Cartier was able to make a go of it. He ended up making a beautiful necklace, and what he did was he loaned it to Mrs. McLean, who was very, very wealthy, and she loved it so much that she decided to keep it on. But some terrible things happened to her. So Mrs. McLean ended up losing her son at the age of 9, daughter at the age of 25. Her husband left her, then he went mad as well. She still wore it and kept it until she passed away. And then in 1947, it was Harry Winston that ended up buying it. And then he famously took it on tour, displayed it in different places. And finally, in 1958, he donated it to the Smithsonian. And what is said is that he didn't just donate it to the Smithsonian, he didn't even want to hand deliver it. So he famously posted it for a cost of $2.44, and that was how the stone was delivered. So kind of an interesting way to hand off a diamond that is worth millions and millions of dollars, and very, very unfortunate, all the terrible stories that went with it. And this is actually the diamond that the necklace in Titanic, the movie, was modeled off of as well. So fascinating little story there. Now, our next item is a watch, and it is known as the Graves super continuation, or super complication. And it is because it is super duper complicated. Now, this is a story of two wealthy Americans, Henry Graves and James Ward Packard. Both were industrialists. Henry Graves' fortune came from his family. He descended from John Graves, and this was the founder of important colonies in Massachusetts. And James Ward Packard was an automobile tycoon. The two of them loved watches, and they had an ongoing, let's call it a little playful game where they would try to outdo each other. And in 1925, James Ward Packard commissioned that fabulous watch, and it took 3 years to design, 4 more to build. It weighed a pound, and it had 920 components with 430 screws, 70 jewels, and it cost all of $15,000, which was the equivalent of over $300,000 in today's money. After he got that watch, though, this is where some bad things started to befall him. Very shortly after receiving it, his best friend passed away. Then his son died in a car crash. And he put it away, kind of stayed with the family. He died in 1953. And when it stayed in the family, it was said to have not caused too many issues. In 1999, it was sold by the family to get some funds to a member of the royal family of Qatar. And they needed it because, well, they wanted it. But in the end, they actually needed to sell it because he did not pay off his gambling debts and was in a state of financial ruin. And this royal was only 48 years old and finally asked Sotheby's to auction it off. And what happened was 2 days before the auction, he actually died an unexpected and untimely death. And the watch sold for $15 million. But it is said that this really is a plagued watch because it was created by two men who were very wealthy during the height of the Depression, and they were busy trying to show off their wealth and compete with each other when regular citizens were just trying to make ends meet. So that is why it is believed that it is an unlucky piece to own. And I believe that that one now is with an unnamed buyer, but 15 million was a very, very healthy price tag for it. Now, not all jewels are unlucky. There is a lot of connection with luck and protection with jewels too. So that takes us to talismans and amulets. Hello, Mia. Hello, Christina. Hello, everybody. Hi, Chris. I hope you're all doing great. Please make sure that you enter hashtag win all caps for a chance to be entered in today's draw. Now, talismans and amulets are often used interchangeably, and the real difference is that a talisman sometimes has engraving on it. In both cases, they can be items that are kept on the body or the person, and they can be jewelry as well. And we are going to begin by looking at some of the most popular objects that have been used through the centuries to protect the wearer. And I wanted to start with coral. This is a topic that we've touched on once or twice. Coral is quite beautiful and is said to protect the wearer. Many, many societies have worn these as protective. And we've got a beautiful painting here from the 15th century that depicts a child wearing a coral necklace, including a branch of coral. And then we also have some paintings from the Regency period as well, where both women and children are wearing coral. Now, the reason why coral is believed to be protective, it is said to contain a drop of divine blood. And that is why coral, in its beautiful color, is so protective to the wearer. Next up, we are going to talk about the evil eye. Now, the evil eye amulet dates, not this one, but evil eyes in general, dates to 3000 before Christ. And the idea is the evil eye reflects the curse of the person who sent it. And evil eyes were extremely important in Greek, Roman, and Egyptian culture. It's said that for increased protection, it is best to actually be gifted an evil eye talisman rather than purchasing it yourself, although there is no harm in doing that. But if there is a loved one in your life that you care about their safety and security and want to make sure they're well protected and have good fortune, gifting them an evil eye piece of jewelry is always a good idea. We've got a couple of examples that I want to share with you. We've got a necklace here, and this is from the early Art Deco period, so around 1920 or so, made of glass. We have a Joan Rivers example, and we're actually going to take a look at this one on gem.app today in case anyone wants to take it home. This is a lovely necklace with lots of different colors. This is an antique jewelry box or ring casket that again has some beautiful blue evil eyes depicted as well. So really beautiful ones. Next up is the lunula. So the lunula is a crescent moon amulet that is said to protect against evil. And this one is particularly considered a female ornament. The bulla is considered the male ornament. And we can see it even in the old carvings in the Roman and Greek cultures. These were incredibly important, and they were said to really protect the wearer. This is a more, I'm going to call it a more modern rendition using antique components that also incorporates some tourmaline and sapphire. And this is a gold version that was found in a tomb. So really beautiful pieces. And scarabs are going to be the last piece of magical talisman or amulets that we will look at today. And this one, because it is engraved on the back, as you can see, and sometimes the front, is truly a talisman more than an amulet. Now, scarabs are long credited with magical rejuvenating properties, both for the living and for the dead. As you know, many of the pharaohs were wrapped in linen, and scarabs were embedded into the layers of linen. They are also used in all facets of society, worn as jewelry, also carved in different places. And so here we have an example. This one's at the Museum of Cairo. It's beautiful lapis scarab. And here we have two slightly more modern renditions, one from the early 1900s, and this one is made of turquoise, which is also said to be particularly lucky. And they are also said to help you find enlightenment on your path. Now, you saw the trick or treat, so that means it's time. We are going to be doing a very special draw today. So I'm going to pop the banner back up. Please do enter win for your chance to win the mug. And if your name is drawn, you can choose to gift the mug to anyone in the chat and then play trick or treat. Or you can choose to keep the mug and then we'll draw it again to see who gets to play trick or treat. So I'm going to double check to see how many people have entered. We have 25 entries right now. All you have to do is type #win all caps, and that means that you will be entered, and shipping is on me. That is a wonderful gift, Jagar. It does make it extra special to have gifted your daughter an evil eye. So please get that #win in. We're going to give it about 30 more seconds or so. Hello, Donna. Hello, Susie. It is really great to see you all today. I have been so offline, and as I was mentioning, October was an incredibly crazy month for me between LA, Edmonton, moving, projects, etc. But I am excited to be online and we'll be back and seeing you all very, very soon. And October is Mental Health Month as well as Cybersecurity Month. So I would say two things to take care of. One, make sure you're checking in with your friends and yourself and that you're taking some time to just rest and relax. And for cybersecurity, beware. There are a lot of new scams where you may be receiving text messages saying that your bank is trying to reach you. You just got to click on a link if you're getting a refund from the government, don't click on those. Always go through the official channels. All right. I am, without further ado, going to check in. We have 31 entries now, so let's do the draw. I'm going to hide the banner, and I will share my screen, and we will get going. So let's do this. Share screen. To the giveaway tool. And we'll do the countdown of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good luck, everybody. Let's see who our lucky trick-or-treater who gets to make a choice is going to be. And it's 1996 Vivian. Congratulations. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, pop back into the comments, and let's see. What would you like to do, 1996 Vivian? Do you want to take the mug or go trick-or-treating? Let me know, and we will get you set up. And I'm going to keep my eye on those comments to make sure that it comes through. All right. And if you happen to not be here anymore, that is also okay, but then we will gift you the mug, and then we will do one more draw for the trick-or-treat. But we'll give this a minute. Now, I would love to know from folks in the chat, are you dressing up for Halloween this year? I was planning on it, but best laid plans. I do not plan on it anymore. I will probably do some sort of gory makeup look. My little sister is a makeup artist, and she is very, very good at giving me some inspiration. What is trick-or-treating? Okay, trick-or-treating means that you get to choose between black and orange, and I will give you a small hint and take a prize from those two categories. Or you can choose to take the mug, which is a known entity. I will tell you that the black and orange, and I'll share right now, this is your choices, and they do hold, each does hold something good. I've said enough. They both have jewelry gifts to them. And then there's the mug, which is the known entity. So you get to choose what you would rather do. You can go trick-or-treating, or you can simply take the mug. And if you decide that you are going to go trick-or-treating, you can choose who gets the mug and gift it. There's no actual tricks. They're all pretty good treats. Unlike when I was a child trick-or-treating, and sometimes the neighbors would ask you to sing and perform tricks for them. No, I will not make you perform any kind of tricks. No actual tricks. So we'll give you a moment to decide. Raised too long in the tooth for dressing. No dressing up for jewelry jam either. We will give you enough time to make your decision. Yeah, the worst was when you had to perform your trick. So you'd do a little song and a dance in a costume, and then they would give you like peanuts. Not that there's anything wrong with peanuts, but I really wanted the candy as a child. Yeah, nuts was just not the same. Trick or treat, and you want orange. All right. Excellent choice. Who would you like to gift this to? That is the one other thing that we need to take care of. Pick a name, any name. This is half the fun because the chat generally doesn't know each other. Yes, Catherine. Neighbors always made us sing for candy, and it was awful. And then you start skipping the house because you know that the candy is not worth it. Yeah. So you will indeed be getting the orange gift, and we're going to unveil it very shortly. But I do need to know who you would like to gift the mug to. And in the meanwhile, I will prepare for the unveil. And congratulations. I'll tell you about this actually. The awful, Jane is saying, the house that gave those awful Halloween brown taffy stuff. I actually have learned to love those candies today. Robin Bai is receiving the mug. Amazing! Congratulations. That is fantastic. Robin, I'm not sure if I have your shipping address. Same for you, Vivian. So if you can both email me at sundaebaubles@gmail.com, that would be amazing. All right, let's unveil the prize. So this is your prize. On the back of the pumpkin, under the leaf, there is a sterling brooch, and this brooch has a citrine, a peridot, and some amethysts in it, as well as some marcasites. So I'm going to flip it around. There it is. You will be receiving this truly wonderful pin cushion, which I got from Antique Agenda, and it does have some fun little pieces in it. So there's a pin, and there's some mother of pearl right here. Really a lovely seasonal fall piece. Thank you so much for playing. I will tell you what was in the box just because I would personally want to know, although they're both good prizes. I think I'd be happier with this pumpkin. The black box contained some small turquoise studs, scarabs, and a little silver pendant. So hopefully you are happy with your orange choice. Congratulations and happy Halloween. Trick or treat. Only treats here. The last thing that I wanted to do with you all today, it's going to be a little bit of a shorty, is to show you some deals that I was able to find on gem.app for talisman and amulet-like jewelry. So I am going to share my screen with you, and we are going to take a look at some of the deals. So here we go. To gem.app. Now, the first thing that I pulled up was some carnelian because it is orange, and orange is a wonderful choice for Halloween. So this is a bracelet that I found on Etsy for $19.95 Canadian. I thought it was quite nice. I love the way it's carved. Personally, it would fit nicely around the wrist. And it reminds me a little bit of those older Scottish pieces that you can see too. So very appropriate for the fall harvest. Green Cat 00 on Etsy is where you would go if this is something that you are interested in. Next up, we have one of my favorites. This is a Victorian Scottish carnelian brooch, and this one is also on Etsy at Bamboo Beads and Bling. And let's just take a look at it here. You know how hard it is for me to give up Scottish pieces, and at $60 Canadian, that is probably about 45 right now USD. It's a pretty good value, and this is quite a beautiful piece. Let's take a look at the back. I don't believe that's a crack. You've got your old findings where they've all been drilled in. Obviously, the clasp has been replaced, but to me, not a big deal at all. These pieces now are going for well over 100 USD, so it is a great price if anybody's interested in a lovely Scottish brooch with all of the old construction. And again, super appropriate for the harvest season. So this is Bamboo Beads and Bling on Etsy. Okay, a few other items I found. I did find a lunula. So this is an ancient bronze Viking moon lunula, and it's available on eBay. So let's pop over to eBay so that you can see the name of the seller. The seller on this one is Neptune's. Let me try that again. Neptune Stewart. Hang on. I'm trying to make it read as words. Neptune Stewart the Galaxy. That is quite a mouthful. So NEPTUNESTUAT the Galaxy. Very, well, a mouthful, I would say. So here it is. It is about the same size as a quarter, and this one is $26. They're saying that it is an old artifact. I think it's quite beautiful. It's hard to know if it's old or not, but it does look like it does have some old patina to it. And so if this is something you're interested in, there is your option for that one. I'm going to take you back to gem.app now. and we're going to look at some coral. And I found quite a bit of very intriguing coral. So on eBay, this is a 14 karat gold stick pin. And I thought it was beautiful how it was carved and how it would dangle when you wore it. So this is what intrigued me about this piece. It does have sort of an end, like a end on it that can be removed, and that is an older cap too. There you have it. Take a look right here at this middle piece. When you see stick pins that have kind of that wound spiral look to them, those are generally on the older side as well. So this is a nice old one. They say that it is salmon coral, 5.6 grams, acid tested for $107 right now with 15 bids. This one is an auction, but I think it is potentially an auction worth getting in on if you like the shape and the look of this one. And now we'll take a look at some more economical deals in terms of coral. I thought this round piece was particularly nice. And this one is also available on eBay. Oh no, the listing ended. It literally ended last night after I looked at it. I'm so sorry about that. We are going to have to go back and go to our next runner-up. This one is an antique brooch, also Victorian. It was very, very popular to have these little branches of coral, as you can see, often set in gold fill. So it is most likely that these brooches that you're seeing are gold fill unless they are properly marked and it is otherwise stated. But as you can see, it does appear to have some wear to that top. But it's a beautiful piece. And this one is $33 as a buy it now. Doesn't ship to Canada, so my Canadian friends, I'm sorry, this one's not for you, but we have more. And Treasures as Found is the seller of this one. And we will go back to gem.app. Maybe we will. My computer's frozen. There we go. And we are unfrozen. Okay. I'm going to pop into the chat real quick, see how everybody's doing. Popping in. Oh, hooray, Ray. That's amazing. I'm so glad the mug got to you so quickly. Hey, Bruce. Great to see you. Thank you for your kind words. All right. I'm sorry that your phone's dragging, Trina. We are going through some amulets and talismans that I found on gem.app that are a deal. So we are going to continue looking at a few coral pieces. Now this one is a very large piece of coral, at least in terms of antique jewelry. Sometimes they're very, very small, smaller than half an inch, sometimes a third. And so this one is available from metroretrovintage.com, and it is $56 Canadian, so probably about $48 USD, and it is a large one, so just over an inch, and you can take a look at the findings on it exactly as you would expect to see. So C-clasp and T-bar, kind of loving the shadows. It's a very moody photo, but this is not a bad price at all for this one. We have a combo deal available on eBay. So this could be a one for you and one to sell, one for you and one to gift. The seller on this one is Peanuts Pickers with 100% positive feedback, over 7,000 items sold, $40 USD for both pieces, or you can make an offer. And this includes a small branch coral necklace, as well as a lovely little brooch that has branch coral on it as well. So I thought that was a really nice little combination for a pretty good price. This one I just really like the design of. So another antique bar brooch, and this one appears to be set inside lover's knots. You've got some leaves on the back, or on the front, sorry, for detail. Here's the side view. So that, again, you can see the way that the metal is set to kind of wrap around the branch coral. And in the back, again, you can see some of that, the metal, because of the way it's been soldered, where it's worn, and this is where you can be fairly certain that it is indeed gold fill at best, but still a beautiful look and protective, as we learned. This one is $49 USD from Lime Tree, China and Crystal. Again, another seller with 100% positive feedback and over 16,000 items sold as well. And we will keep going. So this is a double, I call it a doubles lover's knot with branch coral as well. Available on eBay, 68 Canadian, 47.25 USD. And there it is. So as you can see, it is fairly small. We're going to take a look at it right here, where you can see that it is probably just under an inch. So it's not quite 30 millimeters. And that's where that other longer one that we saw is quite a big piece comparatively. But it's got some nice details. And what I love about these settings is that often the little end caps almost are shaped like hearts. And I think that that is quite intentional. It is a very common feature in these pieces, but in relatively good condition, although it does appear to have a little piece of string or something that is caught in it at the bottom. So antique coral gold pin. This one is from Jen Jocelyn, 2011. Again, 100% positive feedback and almost 5,000, just over 4,000 items sold. Okay, you may start to recognize some of the pieces when we look at the scarab jewelry and the evil eyes. This is from the Thrifty Fairy on Etsy. What I like about this one is that the branch of coral is set on the top, and then you've got this beautiful engraving, and it's meant to be ferns. And there was quite a fern fascination in the Victorian period where everyone would collect ferns and try to grow them. And there are actually hundreds of species, and it became a very fashionable pastime. So having those tied together, especially with having the coral set with leaves, really to me, it's very typically Victorian. So a nice piece, $56 at the Thrifty Fairy on Etsy. And the last one is a wishbone from Base Fair on Etsy. So again, in that typical kind of gold fill setting, you've got that branch coral and lover's knot and vines that hold it all into place. So this one is meant to be obviously for good luck and then some extra luck as well as protection. A very nice piece. In terms of the scarabs, wanted to find you some good bargain deals. From My Wackadoodles on Etsy, you get 3 to choose from for $21 each Canadian. And so that's probably about $15 USD right now, but not bad at all. For one of these are genuine stone and they're 12 karat gold fill pieces. So quite nice. These are retro period, so I would say circa 1950 or so. Really beautiful. Next up, this one is a full lot at Rustin Rhinestones on Etsy. So for $42, you get 2 bracelets and some additional links if you wanted to make earrings or other components. And this is actually one of the best bargain deals that I was able to find online because it offers so many different pieces. So if this is up your alley, or if you want to repurpose it and try to turn it into a necklace, you could definitely do that. It's Rust and Rhinestones on Etsy. And then in terms of size, I'm just going to quickly flip here. So as you can see, we've got scarabs in all different sizes here. It's nice to see that there's a ruler that is showing us exactly what the sizes are so that we can get a good look. And these also can be used as extra extenders too. If you already have a scarab bracelet and you simply want to elongate it, or you want to transform one you own into a necklace. Now, the faience scarabs are some of my favorite, and this one is $39 from History Defined on Etsy. So very good look, and we'll take a look at the back as well. You can see some of the sort of engraved work that's on that, and faience is almost like a sort of pottery that was used. And this is very typical in terms of a design, but 39 Canadian dollars or about 30 USD is a very good price. So History Defined on Etsy. I wanted to share a ring, so similar look to it, and this one's on eBay. So we'll go directly to the eBay link. It is from Eden Road Gallery. And what I like about this one is that it is set in a very typical setting that one would expect in antiquity, and often you find older pieces that are kind of repurposed in this way too. On the back, you've got that carved talisman component in nice shape. And so this one is 105 US dollars. And I'm just going to scroll down to see if they tell us anything more. Sterling silver, manufactured in the Art Deco period. I would say that that does seem likely. And the size is a 5. So keep that in mind. It is a little bit small. Hopefully that would fit you. This one would be tricky, I would think, to size if you needed to. All right. Now we will go into the evil eyes. So here is a sterling and glass bracelet available on eBay for 42 Canadian, which is $29.99. What a deal. USD, our Canadian dollar, is not doing very well. This one is at US 2014.edis, as you can see. And so this is a buy it now, only ships to the US, but it is a pretty good price, I would say. A very good value on this one. Perfect gift if you wanted to prepare for the holidays and give this to someone. This one is also a really good value, and it is located in Canada, so Canadians, you would be able to get your hands on this. It is a bracelet from the Infrathin. So VINFRATHIN on Etsy. Canadian, $25. That's probably about $17 USD right now. And it is a red evil eye and sterling bracelet. So a delicate piece, but could be a wonderful gift to offer someone. This is an Art Deco marcasite style ring. And again, this is sort of that evil eye shape as well. Beautifully made from 1,000 Crows vintage, 66 Canadian dollars. Here's a few pictures. They show you the size, so that is going to be right on a 7. And you may recall this one, which is the Joan Rivers Evil Eye necklace in multicolor enamel. Wanted to share this because it is 76 Canadian dollars, which is a fairly good price for this. It is a buy it now from Marcus the Grand on eBay. And I will flip it around so that you are able to see the signature. Here it is. And it appears to be in fairly good condition, minus possibly this one green, although that could be a reflection if I take a look at some of the others next to it. So it is most likely not damaged, but if you're concerned or have questions, it is always a good idea to reach out to the seller as well. So this one is Marcus the Grand on eBay. And finally, this is on the steeper side of things, but it is an antique piece, Turkish silver from the Ottoman Empire, an evil eye necklace. Wanted to get in closer to show you how these links are shaped like eyes, and then they've got those hollowed out balls in between. So this one's 331 Canadian dollars, which is actually on sale for 248 Canadian dollars. It is 25% off. So there's some good news. And US friends, that means it's like another 25% off of that as well, so well under $200, which for a long necklace is not a terrible price at all. If I was in the market, this is one that I would for sure consider. They don't give us the length, so I would personally reach out to them and ask them to confirm. It does look like it is a pull-on over the head, and there you can see the details. Beautiful necklace. All right. I am going to pop back in and see what I've missed. Oh no, Linda's Wi-Fi is driving her crazy. My email is sundaebaubles@gmail.com, and I'm going to pop that into the chat right now. There you go. And I see Deborah, oh no, having trouble with Wi-Fi too, and Susie. Oh no. Okay, well, I'm sorry that you've had to fight through that. Now, the question is, would anybody like to do one more draw today? We have a winner so far for the mug, and for orange, the pumpkin. Is anybody interested in winning the black box now that you know what's in it? Comment in the comments, and if you are, I will set up a secondary draw with StreamYard so that we can get this going. And what we'll do is we will make the draw #black. All right, we do have interest. Okay, I'm going to update my ticker so that you know what to type. And we will do a final treat as a giveaway today because Halloween is for fun. So here we go. Type #black all caps in for your chance to win this. The black box, which has turquoise and sterling earrings, a couple of scarabs, which will protect you, and a silver charm that has a little sapphire in it as well. And I'm going to make sure that I see your comments. All right, I see you getting in there. Thank you for sticking it out, everybody. Lovely to see you, Tammy, Stephanie, everyone else. If I haven't had a chance to say hello, I'm sorry if I've missed your comments. Treasured, sealed, and delivered, Chris. It's wonderful to see you all. And we will do this giveaway, and then we will call it a day. And I am preparing a couple things for you. So the Russian program, the Imperial Jewelry piece, is just about nearing completion. I have pulled some information on amber and spun silver. So that is going to be our next session, which has been a popular request for a long time, and it will be a good segue in. All right, we will give everyone another minute or so. I'm going to check the tab and see. We've got 15 entries so far. Thank you all so much for joining me. It is always a pleasure to be here. Hi, Lupe. Hi, Victorian Gold. I'm going to close some of my extra tabs. As I go through the gem.app component of the show, I end up opening like a tab for everything that I visit, and I end up with like my browser having 30, 40 tabs open. It's a little bit unwieldy. I don't normally operate with that many tabs open. Okay, let's give this another, let's say 2 minutes. I am going to share one more time what the prize is. Here it is. It is turquoise earrings, some scarabs, and that pendant charm. And I will now move to sharing the giveaway tool. So please make sure that you get your entry in, and we are going to count it down. #black all caps, and do our draw. So let's do it. Good luck to everybody. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am drawing. And Lori Wilf is our winner. Congratulations. All right. And there we have it. It has been a wonderful day. I hope that you all are having an excellent fall season as we move into the winter. Really can't believe that it's the end of October already. And I do hope to see you all again soon. It is such a joy to be here with you. For the Extra Scoop Club, I will be sending out a survey tomorrow to find out a date and time that works best for everybody so that we can do our next session. So I'm really looking forward to that. And we will be on very soon. So start thinking about what images of your pieces you would like to submit to me. So take some photos, take some videos. All right. Happy Halloween to everybody. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care.